Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strikers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strikers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Buckle up indeed, as this is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Welcome. Of course, this show covers all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the LA Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strikers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, and of course, joined here by my co-host with the most, his Orange County native. This is one, Timmy Kolach. Timmy, welcome back to the program, my friend.
JR, man, happy to be with you once again this week, and we're talking the other LA teams of footy football and not the ones that are coming up in about an hour and 20 minutes. So hang tight, have a great show, and we'd love to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all your podcast platforms, and make sure you subscribe to Soccer in 60 over on YouTube. It is a fantastic soccer show. We've got an interview with former Galaxy and Empire Strikers goalkeeper coach Daniel Gonzalez. Gunner sat down with him, and it is a fantastic interview. Of course, round two of Soccers versus Strikers played out at Toyota Arena. LAFC introduced their new gaffer, while the Galaxy got their backline anchor. It's going to be a fun time on the show. But first, let's check in with our friends over at Omnitrans in partnership with the Empire Strikers. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strikers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strikers game. It's time to talk some Angel City, Tim, and the schedule is set at the Coachella Valley Invitational. It is a beautiful tournament held out in Indio, California. Yes, the very same place where they hold that Coachella Valley Festival. The preseason tournament, it runs for 22 days. They've got matches going almost every single day of the 22, and Angel City recently found their matchups for the tournament. Sunday, February 15th, it'll be Angel City taking on the Portland Thorns and Sophia Wilson at 1 p.m. And then Saturday, February 21st, Angel City take on the Seattle Reign at 1:30. Tim, let me ask you, what does head coach Alex Straus need to do to get things off on the right foot out in Coachella Valley?
I think the biggest thing that Coach Straus has to do is make sure his players are ready to play his brand of football. If he can do that, regardless of the scoreline, because he'll play a lot of the kids, and it's the Angel City team is chock full of teenagers anyways, but he'll play some of the new players that are coming along. And I think if they play his brand of football in those first couple of matches that are just friendlies-ish, I think that's really what he's looking for in those first two games, Scarf.
And Timmy, part of what's really great about the NWSL now getting to play at this Coachella Valley Invitational is they get some more exposure for the league as well, right? All the teams come out there. Everybody's going to play. You get to see the new Boston Legacy, the new Denver team. Everybody's suiting up for the first time. It's get some great exposure for the league, not just for Angel City.
Yeah, and I think that's what the league really, truly needs, especially 45 minutes, an hour and a half away from downtown LA, right, where everybody's going to come in. You can get to Coachella Valley reasonably easy at that time of year. And I think what the league will really do is pump up the fact that they're out there for 22 days. You'll have a lot of senior leadership from these teams, from Denver, from Boston, that are brand new to the league. And it will really give a lot of exposure to a lot of the high-quality women players that are in the surrounding area, whether it be college or the high-level club teams there, Scarf.
Yeah, who knows who's going to get a trial, who's going to be able to walk on, who's going to make an impression with these NWSL teams. And with the new salary rules, we've already seen it with Trinity Rodman. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K, as they say, right? It's going to be a lot of fun times for NWSL. It'll also be a bit of a reunion of sorts out at the Coachella Valley Invitational. Boston Legacy signing their first goalkeeper in their club's history. And of course, that's former Angel City keeper Hannah Stambaugh. And by the way, Boston Legacy, thank you for changing the name and getting that one right. That was a disaster when you all first came out. But, look, she didn't get any first team appearances while in her time here in Los Angeles. But when she was able to get minutes, she subbed on, played in a 2024 preseason match against Bay FC, played in a friendly against FC Juarez. Both those games resulted in clean sheets. I mean, I know we had a bit of a goalkeeper controversy last year in Angel City, but did they miss out on maybe keeping somebody really good in the fold in Hannah Stambaugh?
There's got to be a reason why Hannah wasn't kept, but potentially, yes. Hannah did come on in those couple of games. She did play well. And I think it's just a battle of who Alex really truly wants in there. He brought her in, but I think the reality is I think he already knows who his starting keeper is right now. They'll do a lot of things in the Coachella Valley tournament. They'll have a starting lineup right away, and I think Hannah must not have fit into Coach Straus's system.
Yeah, hard to say. She was called into the Japanese women's national team for a friendly against Spain in June of this year. But again, congratulations, first goalkeeper in Boston Legacy history. So yeah, we'll see if Coach Alex Straus got it right with Hannah Stambaugh or not. But other than that, we've got plenty more of Angel City talk as well as Galaxy and LAFC as we bring on Daniel Gonzalez, our fantastic interview guest, a little bit later on in the show. More LAFC and Galaxy also. But let's hear our creative director, Gunnar, sat down with former Galaxy and Strikers goalkeeper coach Daniel Gonzalez. They talked all kinds of things: LAFC, Angel City, Galaxy. Let's hear from Daniel right now.
All right. Our guest today is a former goalkeeper with the Argentina U20 national team who played pro indoor soccer in the U.S. for nearly a decade. He then filled different roles, most frequently those of goalkeeper coach and or assistant coach with various teams, most prominently the US U19s, the US U20s, MLS clubs, Colorado Rapids, Chivas USA, LA Galaxy, which we cover here on this show. After serving as head coach of Nisa side Irvine Zeta FC in 2024, he was a member of the Major Arena Soccer League's Empire Strikers technical staff. It is such a joy to have with me today, former LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach, Mr. Daniel Gonzalez. Coach, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for making the time. Always great to talk to you. So much insight, so much knowledge of Southern California pro soccer. Let's dive right into it today, and let's start with Angel City, if you don't mind. You've coached, as I said, you've coached in MLS, and you've also been if I'm not mistaken, head coach at the college level, at the pro level for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your take on Alex Straus, Angel City head coach Alex Straus. He comes in mid-season. He's asked to implement a completely new system, rebuild the team. In the end, he doesn't manage a great record, I think it's fair to say, and he misses the playoffs. How difficult is it from someone or for someone to come in with a giant task like that? You're a coach. How would you assess the job he's done so far, and what do you think his odds of success are?
I think, that when you come in the middle of the season, it's always very, very difficult. I think the ideas of the players, they're already being already with the coaching staff that's leaving. So it's very hard for you to come in and put an imprint right away in the team. I think, hopefully now the start's over. Again, it will be a much better situation because he can work with the players longer. He can bring players that he thinks might be available to play for him, and they know his system. And he would probably be very happy with that. I think it's very difficult when you come in mid-season.
Exactly. Let's talk about Angelina Anderson for a second. She is a U.S. Youth National Team regular and has also been called up by the senior national team. From your perspective, how good is she? How good can she be? Give us a little bit of a scouting report on her.
I think she's a very good goalkeeper with her feet. She plays well with the feet. I think she had a couple of games where she didn't show that much. I think he's going to be it's a good talent. I think playing for the national team, I think he has done a good job, and in the game that he played, I think it was going to be good for the Angel City. I think the keeper that is going to give him the backbone they need to assess the system on and be so successful.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk briefly Empire Strikers, right? You were an assistant coach just last season. Goalkeeper Brian Orozco, he really seems to be blossoming into a little bit of a star in the MASL. The first thing I ever noticed about him when I had just met him was how he pumped himself up before a game. He seemed, to me at least, completely fearless, right? No nerves, just motivation, pure motivation, which for a keeper is obviously crucial, right? Being fearless. Is that something that you saw as well in him? And what other qualities stand out to you about Brian?
I saw when I started with the Empire that he was a good keeper, and I think he had a much better future later on. And I think that because he played a lot, I think it helped to it. And I think, right now is probably one of the best of the indoor soccer league, and I think he's going to do well for the Empire.
Mm-hmm. What's his biggest strength that you saw? Was he, when you were there, was he already good with his feet, or is that something?
He was very good with his feet already, and I think he has a good head, a good understanding of the game and what he needs to do. I think, that he's going to be very successful. I think it's the keeper for the future.
Mm-hmm. He also was fortunate enough to be able to learn from his own father, who was a professional goalkeeper. So that helps, right? Having that in your blood. Yep. Let's quickly move on to LAFC. Let's talk some MLS, and I promise we'll talk about the Galaxy, your former club.
Sure.
LAFC has re-signed goalkeeping legend, I should say, Hugo Lloris. There has been a bit of criticism, of Lloris, with some saying, for example, that his save percentage is a bit underwhelming for a top flight keeper. In the playoff game at Vancouver, he gave up a rebound that led to a goal that the team gave up. Do you think bringing back Hugo Lloris was the right move by LAFC?
Let me tell you that I think it was not, and I'll tell you why. I think Hugo Lloris was, as a legend, is a very good keeper. He was a great keeper. I think the best years are behind him, not in front of him. And I think, if you look at not only just the goal they give up, then the PK, the shootout. He didn't only say one. He's a keeper that if you look about France and Argentina in the World Cup final, never said none. I think, the Hugo Lloris, it was good as it was. I think Galaxy, the LAFC, I don't think they did a good job in resigning him. I mean, they're going to go with him, which I think is good for him, but I don't think it'll be good for LAFC in the long run.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit bigger picture with LAFC. Since Steve Cherundolo departed, the club has made former assistant Marc Dos Santos its new head coach, which is clearly a decision in favor of consistency and against a big name, as some people wanted to see. Given how much some of the fans disliked Cherundolo's somewhat pragmatic approach, some of his in-game decision-making, how do you feel about the Dos Santos hire?
Dos Santos is a very good coach. He was already in the league. He coached Vancouver for a while, if you look like a few years ago. He's a very good coach. I think he's going to try to put his imprint on the team, the way that he likes to play, which is not going to be very different for what Cherundolo did. I think, that's going to keep that. But again, I think there's going to be a trial and error in the goalkeeper side. I think that's going to be really the backbone of what's going to happen in the season.
Mm-hmm. Putting you on the spot, where does LAFC finish? Do they go to the final?
They make the playoff. They make the playoff, but I don't think they will go as far as they did this time.
Okay, interesting. Okay. We touched on it. Cherundolo took not a lot of criticism, but some very loud criticism from some of the fans, some of these fans in LA seem to only be happy when the club is lifting silverware. LAFC sees itself as a super club. You've coached in MLS, which is a league with built-in parity, right? There's a salary cap. As a coach,
Sure.
Can you tell us how difficult is it to dominate a league like MLS? Do you feel that LAFC fans need to temper their expectations a little bit?
I think when they come into the league, and you're going to see the same thing with San Diego. They come into the league brand new, and they did very well. They went all the way to the final. So when you look at it, they're going to the semifinals. I mean, lose it at the end with Vancouver. But I think, the MLS is very difficult for that reason, for the salary cap. It's very difficult because you allow some money that you have to make year after year. Look at Galaxy, for example. They lost a couple players, and then Ricky Pugh was injured, and then the Galaxy had a disaster season.
Yep.
They was bad towards the end. But I think, the LAFC fans, it's a big club. And the big clubs, the people are going to expect the most. I think Galaxy and them are maybe the biggest in MLS for me. And I think, having now San Diego joining the power and Atlanta with Tata Martino now and again, it's going to be a different situation. I don't think that the fans can be very critical if they don't make it. I think they have a good team, and I think they got to keep working. But at the end of the day, it's about the players that you have.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Galaxy. It's as if you wanted to transition me over, so that was perfect. So I appreciate that. Yeah, let's talk about your former club, right? The LA Galaxy. After 2025, the Galaxy was looking for an upgrade in the center back position. That was no secret. Greg Vanney talked about it. A lot of people talked about it. Now, the club has announced the signing of three-time MLS All-Star Jacob Glesnes from Philadelphia. I want to ask you specifically from a goalkeeper's perspective, what are qualities that Glesnes brings that you enjoy as you're playing goalkeeper for the LA Galaxy, that you enjoy having in front of you, and how does someone like him change the way that you're able to play as a team and as a goalkeeper?
I tell you, he's the best defender that is right now in MLS, the best center back. I think the air game that he plays is unbelievable. He wins every ball in the air. He's very good with the ball. He get good passes going forward. It's a really, really good. To be honest, I don't know why Philadelphia let him go. It's weird, but I guess they see him maybe that he's not in the best years, could be. But I tell you, it's still his decision making and the way that he plays is great. I think Greg Vanney did a great job getting him, and I think it's going to make the big difference, especially because I don't think that the backup, the goalkeeper side is very strong. So I think they did a great job bringing him in.
That's a great point, and we're going to touch on that in a second. A quick follow-up question: if you're the goalkeeper, do you maybe rely on your center back more when you have someone with a strong aerial game? Do you maybe not come to punch for every ball? Is there something that you change? Yeah,
sure. I mean, when you have somebody like Jacob Gleason in front of you, he blocks shots. He understands the game in front of you. He reads the game well. It's much easier for you to make less hectic decisions as a goalkeeper, and to be more sober kind of keeper, and understanding that he's in front of you and he's going to read it as you read it.
Yep. Okay. You already touched on it. So obviously we got to talk about the goalkeeper situation, right? After a very tough situation for much of last season, the club finally traded John McCarthy to Red Bulls, which is something needed to happen there, right? They had three goalkeepers who all saw themselves as potential starters. Now they have a young starter in Novak Mitrovic. They have a strong challenger, arguably, in JT Marcinkowski, and a pretty clear backup in Brady Scott. What's your take on that threesome? Do you feel like it's cut out for success for the Galaxy?
To be honest, I tell you, I don't think so. I think the Markovic coming from San Jose, I don't think he was a very good keeper in the league. I won't rate him as one of the best keepers at all. I think Mikovic is a new one that he's starting, but again, I don't think he gives you the presence of an invincible goalkeeper, like Jaime Pinedo, for example. Like Tim Melia in Kansas City in the past. So I think if they need a goalkeeper. I think they couldn't find one right now, and I think they're going to go with Mikovic, but they tied it up in front of him, which is with Jacob Gleason. That tells you You can have maybe a less quality center backs if you have a strong goalkeeping. I think a Galaxy, which I'm going to go back to LAFC, the same situation. You got Hugo Lloris, and then you have Ibrahim. They used to be at Chivas USA, used to be a Galaxy, which I don't think is a very good either. So I think if you get to the point where both teams, I think that's going to be an Achilles trouble for them.
Yep. Let's quickly stay on Mitrovic. That's really interesting to me. Last season, he did show some promise in some games, but as you said, he also had a few shaky moments. One of the big knocks on him that people talk about is he isn't the most verbal goalkeeper. He's almost a little bit of a shy, more reserved guy, even off the field, right? When you see him around the field in press conferences, what strengths and weaknesses does he bring, in your opinion? And do you feel like he took any step forward this season?
I think he's a good shot stopper, but again, he's not a good communicator. Doesn't communicate. Doesn't give you a good presence. It's not like you say, well, I tell you, McCarthy got a presence. At least with McCarthy, you know that he makes some saves. He got presence. He talks a lot. I think, again, the Galaxy for a while, it hasn't been a team that has had a great goalkeeping. Maybe the best goalkeeper before was Harman. And after that, Matt Reese. And after that, I don't know if you can say that Jaime Pinedo was good. Then the Jamaican guy was very good too. But after that, it was Cudicini was average. And then if you look back now, and it's been average, I think. I don't think it's been really solid. It's not like Berkey in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. That's a great goalkeeper. Berkey would be somebody that if I was the coach of Galaxy, I would try to get for my team. But I tell you, Greg's doing a great job. Maybe he couldn't get him. And that's the reason. I think that's why he decided to get a center back. And he might be very happy with Mikovic. I just think to win the MLS Cup, you need to have a very, very strong goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that'd be very intriguing to have Roman Berkey and Marco Reus, the two former Dortmund guys, on the same team together. I think you're putting some ideas in people's heads right now. That would be very interesting.
I hope so. I tell you again, I think Roman Berkey is something level. Berkey is a very good keeper. I think it shows every day. St. Louis just resigned him, and they give him a deal, multi-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about, you are, if I'm not mistaken, you're a resident of Orange County. I know you coach in Orange County now. Yeah. Yes. So let's talk Orange County Soccer Club, right? That's right in your neck, in your neck of the woods.
Sure.
I want to take you back real quick, something that I thought was really intriguing. Take you back to when Orange County battled host Sacramento to a tie in the Western Conference quarterfinals. And then head coach Danny Stone does the unthinkable. He subs off his undisputed starting keeper and brings on a young kid for the PKs who had up to that point had never seen professional penalty kicks in his life. Of course, that kid, Tetsuya Kadono, then goes on to win it for OC in the penalty kicks. Unbelievable story. I don't know if you watched it live, but what did you think when you heard that Danny Stone had made that move?
Let me tell you something. When I was at Zeta FC, he was a backup keeper.
Right.
And when we went to play in the playoff, we discussed that. He's a big guy. Shows a little. He's a big guy. He's great in PKs. I think it was a great decision, to be honest, to put somebody like that, because psychologically it throws off the other team right away. So you got a keeper and they didn't play in the game, and now you put him in there. I think it created a little problem with Colin Shutter. I think it created a problem, which now he's gone, and he's going to Colorado Switchbacks.
Yep.
I think that has to happen. Maybe that happened with some of that decision, but I think the decision on Danny Stone was great. I tell you, we were going to do it in the playoff, in the final against LAFC. And the reason is we didn't do it because we got scored a goal in the 94th minute. And we were going to finish the game. And that was an idea, to throw Cardano in the PKs, for sure.
Yep. And
I think it's a great. I think it's great. Mm-hmm. Mentally, it throws the other team off.
Right. And there's a reason that the Netherlands have successfully done it in a World Cup, for example. So, yeah, very interesting. Just one more on OC. the man who you just mentioned it, the man who subbed off before that PK shootout and who is or was extremely accomplished with the club now left, right? You said it went to Colorado. That's Colin Shuttler, obviously a massive deal. Do you feel like Cardona is ready to step up and start for Orange County, or do you feel like they need to bring in a veteran keeper?
I think, Cardona is ready for the opportunity. I think he's a very good keeper. I think he deserves the opportunity for just for stopping the PKs. And then I think overall he's young. He's somebody, if you got confidence, as you give him confidence, he's going to make mistakes because he's young. But I think, it's a very, very good keeper that can do it well in that league.
Mm-hmm. I only have one more. Thank you so much for your time. It's so great to talk to you because you just have so much insight on all the teams that we cover here, which is amazing. I have one more question for you right now, and that's more of a personal one, right?
Sure.
And at the risk of stirring up dark memories, you were part of the Argentina team that would go on to win the 1979 U20 World Cup, except you didn't actually win it because you had a last-minute injury that cost you the starting job and sidelined you through that tournament. They say that time heals all the wounds, but I wonder if that's actually the case with you. Do you still, 4 decades later, do you still think back sometimes and shed a tear over that?
Of course. I shed many tears. It was very difficult when you play 64 caps before that World Cup and then get to the World Cup and get injured in Singapore in a game. There was the scrimmage before getting to Japan. That was devastating for me. I was a young guy. I cried a lot. But the life goes on, and then the team, the backup keeper, Garcia, did a great job. Maradona was fantastic, and the team won it. And at the end of the day, I think what the coach told me was, even if you didn't play, you did a lot to get us here. So I think that was a good thing. Of course, many times and many years I didn't feel like I won it because I wasn't in the field. But as I get older, I think, that all the job that I did through that point was good enough to help the team to get there.
Yep. And we all know, or some people don't know, the World Cup doesn't start with the final phase. The World Cup starts well before then. So if you played in that, then you won the World Cup. To me, that's good enough. You're a World Cup champion. And as I said, so great to have you on. So much knowledge, so much experience in the game. And I really appreciate your time today and your insight. Thank you so much, Daniel Gonzalez.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I appreciate it. And Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and Happy New Year. And let's hope for all the teams in Southern California lift a championship this season.
That'd be amazing. 5 for 5. Let's hope
great.
that happens. Yeah. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. Daniel Gonzalez.
Merry Christmas, Gonzalez.
And there it is, a fantastic interview from Daniel covering all kinds of great things. But you know what he didn't get to cover were the Empire Strikers. We will have some Galaxy and LAFC talk after we check in on the Strikers. But first, let's take a minute to check in with our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers, and of course, a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strikers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. It's time to talk all things Strikers, Timmy. And just want to remind everybody that both season tickets and tickets for the upcoming home match that we're going to talk about in just a little bit are available at theempirestrikers.com. And of course, that's Strikers with a Y. Timmy, the Strikers were looking to start their season off 2-0 for the first time in several seasons, but it was unfortunately not to be as the Empire fell in their home opener 6-3 to the hated San Diego Sockers. And unfortunately, it was at the hands of former striker Chris Toth, who started net for the visitors, a .786 save percentage. But you and I were talking pre-show, and it all fell apart relatively quickly for the Empire Strikers. 1-1, tough game, going into halftime, very close. But then the doors kind of got blown off there.
Yeah, so much for that boat race that I talked about last week. You know, they both played a very slow, methodical game. And at the end of it, it was a mistake inside the penalty box that got the Sockers to take that 2-1 lead. And from there, Empire collapsed. You know, it looked kind of like they did a couple of seasons ago where they just couldn't hang on to anything, and it was 5-1 in a blink of an eye. They did claw back a couple of goals to make it 5-3, but then the nail went into the coffin to make it 6-3 middle of that fourth period.
Yeah, let's talk about it again. Both sides trading goals in the first quarter, kind of like two heavyweight boxers feeling each other out there in that first quarter. Heck, the entire first half, Marco Fabian getting that first goal for Empire. So it's always nice to see the Mexican star getting on the score sheet early. And look, as the teams entered the fourth quarter, it was still just 2-1. It was anybody's ball game, but you mentioned it. After it got to be 2-1, it got to be 5-1 real quick. What did the Empire Strikers, what did they see in those 4 goals as quickly as they came? They've got to play the soccer several more times this season. But what happened over that short stretch?
Well, I think the key thing that happened is that the Sockers found something inside of the Strikers' defense that they just keyed in on. They took a little bit harder shots. And one of the things that you did see in this game is that it was very, very physical. There was a couple of blue cards. There was a couple of yellow cards, which is basically a 10-minute misconduct. And the chippiness did not let up until the final whistle. And I got to give it to the Strikers. They weren't backing down. They weren't getting shoved around like they normally would have. But you got you got some bigger dudes on the Sockers. And when the bigger guys start pushing around the little guys, a couple of guys went into the boards, things like that. The referees, I think, this season have been the best that I've seen in the past 3 or 4 seasons. They've kept this thing under control. They weren't handing out red cards. And the biggest thing is that the Strikers' defense just kind of folded up a little bit and went home. I won't say they gave up or anything, but they just kind of snapped a little bit for about 4 or 5 minutes. And in indoor soccer, those 4 or 5 minutes caused 4 or 5 goals.
Well, look, we've seen a much more physical brand of indoor soccer across the MASL this season. They've already had 1 player suspended for 5 games for boarding a player. It's been a physical start to the season across the league. I think, though, a couple of good things to take away from it, right? You mentioned it. They got 2 goals, pulled them right back to make it 5-3 to get the crowd there at Toyota Arena back into it. Ant Powell scoring his first for the Strikers, getting into the record book there for Empire. What does it mean to get him on the score sheet this quickly into the season? And for it to be a big goal, it stopped the bleeding there. We mentioned it. It went from 1-1 to 5-1, now 5-2, giving yourself a little bit of hope there if you're the Empire. Ant Powell getting his getting his first goal of the season for the Strikers.
I think it meant a lot because it, like you said, it stopped the bleeding, but it also got the crowd back into it. You could feel it. The air got sucked out of the arena, and there's a really good crowd on Friday night. And I think the biggest thing, that goal got them right back into that game. They clawed back another one less than a minute later, right? And so now it's 5-3, and now it's a game on. And I think Strikers, after that, their third goal, they played the way they had played in the first half the rest of the game. Held the Sockers only to 1 goal the rest of the match. I think it was much better after that third goal.
Yeah, and we're talking right around 5,000 people at Toyota Arena. So a great crowd. I think, too, somebody who might have flown under the radar a little bit in a lot of the preseason watch might be Munir Alami. Had 2 goals in the first match, including the game winner against the Sockers. And now here, you mentioned the third goal for the Empire Strikers, up to 3 goals on the season. Having a player like Munir Alami, who was right there for the Rookie of the Year race last season, had a wonderful coming out party in his first season for the Empire Strikers. Here now in season 2, if they can get a player like Munir Alami going so that it takes a little bit of the burden off of Marco Fabian and a little bit of the burden off of Justin Stinson, and we'll talk about him real quick here in just a second. A player like Munir Alami, Tim, for him to be able to get going and then sustain it over the course of the season, that could be huge for the Strikers.
I think it'll be key because right now, Justin Stinson and Marco Fabian, they're not putting up the 20, 30 goals that they were, that they had done last season and things like that. But I think if you have Munir Alami come out this weekend, this Friday night at a 7:05 game time at Toyota Arena, and you put them up against a team like the St. Louis Ambush, who they're playing, who have given up 21 goals in their first 3 matches, I think that this is where you get Stinson on the board. You get a couple of goals from Fabian. You get Munir Alami to get 2-3 points in this match. I think it'll be like nitrous in the V8 that is the Empire Strikers.
Yeah, look, couldn't agree more. You mentioned it. December 19th, the Strikers hosting the St. Louis Ambush at Toyota Arena. Again, get your tickets at theempirestrikers.com. That's Strikers with a Y. Not only did they not lose to the St. Louis Ambush all of last season, they've never lost to the St. Louis Ambush ever. 9-0 all time against the club from St. Louis. This could be exactly what the doctor ordered, getting Justin Stinson going really for the first time. Fabian's at least scored in the first 2 games. Munir Alami has pulled his weight. We've seen Robert Palmer have an excellent start to the season. Brian Orozco has looked great. But let's not forget, it's not just one match in one city in one day. It's 2 matches in 2 cities in 2 days, as the very next day, December 20th, the boys get on a plane and travel to Tacoma to take on the Stars. Tim, let's first talk just real quick about this St. Louis Ambush match. It is incredibly important that they defend home turf and take away all the points against the Ambush.
Certainly, and I kind of feel like a dating show here. We're 2-2, right? From the anyways, wrong show. But yes, they have to defend home turf. They have to get all the points out of the St. Louis match because, like you said, 23 hours later, after the start time of Friday night's game, they're going to be in Tacoma and on the road and playing against the Tacoma Stars, where they're also having. They've played a few more games, but these are 2 games that you have to take the full 6 points from.
Yeah, Tacoma started the season very well. I mean, that Baltimore team was looking good heading into Tacoma, and they had to play Tacoma twice in their own barn. And let me tell you, Tacoma took it to them over the course of those 2 matches, 2-0 in those 2 games. So a big lift for Tacoma to start the season. Let me ask you real quick, too, kind of a general question. What do they have to do to get Justin Stinson going? Because we mentioned it, no goals through the first 2 games, not even a ton of major opportunities. It's not like the keepers are standing on their head to keep it out of the back of the net. We mentioned Fabian, we mentioned Alami, but they'd have to be a 3-headed monster there with Justin Stinson. What do they have to do to get Justin Stinson going?
I think you just got to get him the ball, and he's got to one-time a bunch of shots, even if they get blocked. I think he's just got to get a confidence level into him shooting just in general. There weren't a whole ton of shots in those first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter this past game, they were taking a lot more shots. They were hit a couple of posts. They were coming off the glass, and there were second chances. I think just getting Justin in a space where he's free to shoot the ball versus just needing to pass at the top of the umbrella, as it were, I think that will get him going. And it's kind of like, the loop fly ball in baseball. You just got to get him 1 goal, and the next thing you know, he's going to have 4 or 5 goals in the next 2 games.
Listen, shooters shoot, and when they see it go in, that's when it starts to become a pattern for them. Absolutely. Look, I don't know if it was Wayne Gretzky or Michael Scott that said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. They've got to definitely start taking more shots, that's for sure. Look, either way, the reason why you watch indoor soccer is for matches like this one coming up against St. Louis. We are going to see goal after goal after goal for the Strikers. It's going to be a lot of fun out at Toyota Arena. So don't forget, theempirestrikers.com. Now it's time to talk some LAFC and Galaxy talk. So in order to do that, Tim, let's bring on our good friend on the show here, Rob Halone from the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. Rob, welcome back to Soccer in 60, my friend.
Boys, thank you so much for having me on tonight. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Let's get into it.
Rob,
Yeah,
hello and Merry Christmas, buddy. Great to have you on the show, pal.
Happy holidays to you boys as well. May Santa bring you everything your hearts desire.
Tim and Rob will appreciate this. It is so good to hear both of your voices here on this podcast. Look, the dates for the first round of CONCACAF Champions Cup matches are set. First for LAFC playing Real España. They're going to head out to Honduras to Estadio Francisco Morazan on February 17th, and then the return leg home, BMO Stadium, 1 week later, February 24th. Rob, any Valentine's Day plans to maybe check out a match in Honduras?
Well, no, not for myself really, but I know that you will be holding it down for the entire crew and having a lot of wonderfully made drinks and watching a lot of good soccer.
Yeah, very excited to get out to Estadio Francisco Morazan for the first time. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tim, in a moment of sheer brilliance by Commissioner Don Garber, of course, LAFC is slated to open their 2026 campaign against reigning champs Inter Miami, and the Fighting Messies, of course, smack in the middle of these two CONCACAF Champions Cup matches. We play in Honduras on the 17th, at BMO on the 24th, but Saturday, February 21st, we get to cross the parking lot over to the Coliseum, Inter Miami, in between these two matches. Let me ask you real quick, Tim, should it matter if it's Real España?
Yeah, probably not. Nobody ever said that Mensa was the people running the MLS schedule this year, but they're running it into the Coliseum, and they're going to pack the house, and that's why they're doing it, because it's on a Saturday, right? You got to put everybody, you got to put cheeks in seats, and this is the way to do it. And having Messi come in, regardless of whether or not it's good for LAFC. He's always looking at what's good for MLS, apparently.
Yeah, it's good for his pocketbook, too. He's making a little bit of money off of this. Rob, let me ask you, 3 matches in the span of those 7 or 8 days to start the season. Could this spell a little bit of trouble for LAFC early on, or am I making too much about nothing here?
No, not at all. You're not. I mean, you're very right. You're very right to call this out, because you don't have these players in tip-top form yet, and you're throwing a bunch of games at them very early. It's a good way to get people injured very early, and it's a long campaign, and right out of the gate you have, like you mentioned, 3 games back to back to back, and it's really hard, especially if you're trying to integrate players. I mean, it means less training time. It means less time to be with your players and show them how you exactly want them to play. Any new players that came in, less time to bed in. So yeah, no, it's definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, we got to get our technical director, Christian Giordani, to clip that part of you telling me how right I was and save that for a little bit later. I appreciate that. That's not quite the kickoff, though, to the Marc Dos Santos era. In fact, the Coachella Valley Invitational will be the beginning of the Marc Dos Santos era. Sunday, February 8th at noon. Early bird single-day passes are available. Rob, we may even see each other out there if you're going out there, because we'll talk about when the Galaxy play out there as well. But a team like NYCFC, LAFC, they don't get to play each other all that often. Is there a little bit more to this preseason matchup, Rob, because it's LAFC and NYCFC, or is this just a glorified training session for both these clubs early on?
No, I really think the CVI has a place. I mean, it's first off, it's great for fans to have great unfettered access to these players, but you're so close to the season that you're starting to see these teams take shape. The NYCFC made it decently far in on the eastern side of the playoffs, and most of that core stayed together, or at least so far. Who knows what's going to happen in the next month and a half? But
Sure.
2 teams that are good playoff teams are going at it again, testing themselves, is going to tell them how much further they have to go before the start of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens out there in the Coachella Valley. Tim, we talked about it a little bit with Angel City, right? Being able to get some younger guys integrated, being able to get maybe some fringe roster guys some extra minutes. How much more important is that, considering the gauntlet of 3 matches that they have coming up in just a week and a half after that?
Yeah, I think you and Rob have hit the nail on the head. I think you're going to have to integrate those younger guys so that you can have guys playing in Honduras. You can have guys playing in the home opener, as it were, at BMO in the CCC on the 24th at home. You're going to have to get those other guys integrated so they can be up to speed. So you can save guys like Denny Boanga, who will be playing in all 3 games, but do you cut down his minutes in the CCC to make sure that he lasts the entire season?
Yeah, we'll see if Messi goes the full 90 in that match in Miami. Look, LAFC getting plans ready to go to Honduras, but Galaxy getting their travel plans ready to face Sporting San Miguelito in Panama. Rob, how about not a trip to Honduras, but Panama?
Hey, there's a couple of lovely all-inclusives in Panama, and there's a nice intimate stadium I hear in Sporting San Miguelito. Yeah. It might be time for me to travel internationally and cover a Galaxy match.
Yeah, listen, what, 3,400 seats, I think is what they're saying. They might expand it to 4,000 in Panama Thursday, February 19th. Galaxy will take on Sporting San Miguelito at their place, and then at Dignity Health Sports Park Wednesday, February 25th. Tickets, by the way, already on sale for that match. I saw that. So get your tickets early, get your tickets when you can. What are you looking forward to in this matchup here between Galaxy and Sporting San Miguelito, Rob?
Well, it's an early test. I mean, let's be honest. No disrespect to Sporting San Miguelito, but everyone expects the Galaxy to go through. But just like with the LAFC, just like we saw with them, this is sandwiched between their MLS home opener. And so you have to be cognizant of how much your players are going to play in these opening games. Whereas LAFC has 3 in the opening 9, Galaxy have 4 in the opening 9. So it's going to be tough for them as well. So you have a trip to Panama, coming back home and opening against a very good team, then a Champions Cup match there as well at home, and so it's a tough opening. So you have to be really, really careful not to get ahead of yourselves in that first match. Play the occasion. It's your first match of the season. Who knows if Ricky Puig is going to be available at this point? So since you're the favorite, come out and show why you're the favorite.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Tim, they also got their schedule, Galaxy, for the Coachella Valley Invitational, Sunday, February 8th against the Chicago Fire. They play at 10 o'clock. LAFC plays just a couple hours later at noon. Tim, let me ask you, any issues might arise there out in Palm Springs that LAFC, Galaxy fans, maybe Galaxy fans leaving, LAFC fans coming? What do you think?
You know what I think? I think because it's in the desert, everybody, it'll still be reasonably cool out in the desert. Nobody's going to be hydrated too much. I think there will still be drinking just waters at 10 a.m., but you never know. But I think the reality is that everybody's going to be pretty mellow out there. I think they're going to be just excited to be that close to the players. I don't think there's going to be that big of an issue between the two teams.
Yeah, look, I'm hoping you're right. I think you'll be right. It's a nice, calm atmosphere out there. By the way, Galaxy supporters, in case you didn't think we were going to talk about it, we're going to spend the next 3 or 4 minutes, Rob, talking about the giant tuna that the Galaxy have landed in the offseason.
The big fish.
Jacob Glesnes, are you kidding me? Galaxy get their man to anchor the back line. Rob, I don't know that there's a topic that you and I talked about more either on your podcast or my podcast or on this show here, Soccer in 60. I don't know that there's a better defender in all of Major League Soccer. Daniel Gonzalez says that he's the best defender in all of Major League Soccer. Jacob Glesnes, formerly of Philadelphia Union, all he's done is be a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Best 11, and the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year in Major League Soccer. Let me ask you, Rob, I thought that Christmas was December 25th. What is it like for all the Galaxy supporters that Christmas has come so early?
Oh, well, they were just giddy. I mean, you're right. This is a gift. This is a gift here. I mean, we had Tom Bogart on Lacuna Galaxiana just yesterday, and he, you know him, he's the transfer guy. He's the guy that breaks all the transfer news. And when he got wind of this, he actually thought that it was a joke, that the Galaxy weren't in a position or didn't have the resources to pull off this kind of a deal. And then kudos to Will Kuntz, because he actually goes out and makes this deal happen. The Galaxy instantly transformed their backline, give Garces a real good backline partner. And that's, now you have a Maya Yoshida to go ahead and bring off the bench as a third option. That's a really decent center backline now.
Yeah, and look, this could be an expensive deal. Let's talk about what the deal was up front. $1.1 million in GAM, $500,000 in 26, $600,000 in 27, with a potential of another 1.1 if he hits some performance markers. You also picked up the homegrown priority to Jameer Johnson. I don't know if that's something that registers on the needle while fans are still talking about Jacob Glesnes, but talk about Jameer Johnson as well.
Oh no, this is kind of like the afterthought of the deal. But if you really look at it, this is kind of, you're looking at this and you're going, wait, Philly threw in Jameer Johnson? I mean, this is a winger that's highly touted in the U.S. youth national team pool. You watch video on this guy, and he's regularly making fools look silly on the touchline and doing what he wants. I mean, he has great feet, great vision, and he's young. And Greg Vanney is going to be able to bring out the best in that kind of player. He loves this kind of winger, a winger that's quick, direct, and tricky. He should thrive.
Yeah, look, let me jump in here real quick, JR. I think this is Tim. As big, if not bigger, than getting Glesnes, is to get Jameer Johnson. I think the performance markers that are part of the package deal, I think they're as big for Jameer as they are for Glesnes.
No, look, you're absolutely right. I think Jameer Johnson is going to be much more than a throw-in, but obviously the bells, the whistles, the flashing lights, everything goes into acquiring maybe the best defender in all of Major League Soccer.
Absolutely. Transformational.
Yeah.
Sorry, is Rob staying with us for OCSC? Rob, look, we've opened Christmas presents early for you and all the other Galaxy supporters. It has been lovely to have you back on Soccer in 60, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers. It's been a blast. Merry Christmas, y'all. Cheers.
Great to see you, Rob.
All right, Tim, we finally get to talk some Orange County Soccer Club. Last week, Tim, we talked about not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 players who have re-signed for Orange County last week. Tim, how about we bring back another 5, including a trio of talented teenagers for your alliteration of the week here on Soccer in 60. But first, let's talk about, in my opinion, Tim, and you could tell me if I'm right or wrong on this one, the biggest one is the man who wore the captain's armband for most of the season, center back Tom Brewitt.
Yeah, I think bringing Tom Brewitt back is kind of like having Matthew Stafford at quarterback. I mean, this guy ran the back line, ran the midfield, and really kept this entire team squared away most of the season. This bringing the captain back, bringing Tom back is a very, very big deal. I think it's the biggest re-signing of the entire offseason for Orange County to bring him back. And you mentioned it, we've got the teenage sensations that are coming back too. You got Tyson Espy, you got Apollo Marinich. You've got a whole slew of guys that are coming back that are 15, 16, 17 years old, and Orange County is very well set up for this coming season, Scarf.
Yeah, Tim, more on those terrific teenagers you talked about in just a second, but let's talk about the other big get back into the fold. The former NCAA Player of the Year, national champion at Clemson, returns to Orange County after a season unfortunately beset by injuries. Ousmane Silla back in the fold for Orange County up top. That is a huge get for Orange County for next season.
It is. When we talk about the prolific offense that Orange County is going to have this coming season, and with Mo War and Zubac coming back, to put Silla in the middle there in that, that true number 9-ish, right? I think that's a very big deal for them to go to him and be able to have him not only score with War and Zubac out on the wings, having him up the middle right there is going to really help Orange County's attack.
And look, he already produced that epic moment for Orange County, leveling their Open Cup match against AV Alta with a wonderful bender of a goal. Look, injuries, it's kind of the story of almost all of these players that we're talking about that were brought back, right? It was, I think, the main through line for the season all year for the County boys was just trying to stay healthy. But let's talk about the teenagers. Tyson Espy, maybe the most heralded prospect into the group. He made 3 first-team appearances. You got Pedro Guimaraes, who is fantastic, the 17-year-old, back for his 3rd season with Orange County Soccer Club. And of course, the youngest player to ever debut for Columbus Crew 2, 15 years old, Apollo Marriage. It is a special trio of teenagers, Tim.
Yeah, with Pedro coming in, he came in the middle of that 23 season in August, and then last year's a full season. I don't know about you, but if I certainly wasn't a second-year pro, full season pro at 17, Scarf. But these guys are really going to be the linchpins for the next, hopefully, 3-4 years for Orange County. They do have that pathway to Europe, and potentially they'll get plucked off maybe by a MLS team. But with these guys coming back and in the fold next season for Orange County, expect great things, especially with the coaching staff that Orange County has kept intact for this coming season.
All right, so Tim, we talk about this trio of teenagers. Let me ask you, though, who do you expect Orange County gets the most out of these 3 moving forward? 2026, who gets the most burn, the most run, makes the most impact?
I think it's got to be Guimaraes. I think he's been stabilized. He's been there a couple of seasons now. I think the coaching staff really puts a lot more pressure on Pedro to become a much better player in 26, and I think he steps up to the task. I know that Tyson and Apollo are going to be great players, but they're still just 15, 16 years old. It's a lot to put on a very young kid. But with Pedro, he's been there for a couple of years. He knows the system. And Coach Danny Stone, I think, is really going to get a lot out of Pedro this coming season. Expect him to be on the score sheet at least 7 or 8 different times, goals and or assists.
Yeah, my pick is Tyson Espy, but you know what? My pick is also Christian Giordani and Gunnar Burnt. They're taking care of all the stuff on the back end. We had a bunch of technical difficulties on this episode of Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. But I want to say a big thank you, of course, to Timmy Kolotz and to everybody involved with Soccer in 60, Rob Halone. This has been, while a little technically difficult, the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal, Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System.